Alright, now let's look briefly at percents. So a percent is a proportion that is relative to 100. What in the world does that mean? Well, if you have A and B, which are numbers, the ratio of A, which is called a part, to B, which is called the total, this ratio can be set equal to the percent divided by 100. So let's see some examples of this, because I don't know about you, but this doesn't even make sense to me. Another thing that you're going to need to recall from middle school math is how to write a percent. If you have something like 45%, remember that this is the same exact thing as saying 45 over 100. Anytime you divide something by 100, you can think of it as moving the invisible decimal place over to the left twice. So 45% is the same thing in decimal form as 0.45. What about 130%? How would you write that as a decimal? Well, there's an invisible decimal place right after the 0. Move that to the left twice. So 130% written as a decimal is 1.3. Right, so now that we have a review of percents down, let's take a look at some of these problems. What percent of 75 is 15? So think back to that equation that we wrote. A over B equals P over 100. The question here is asking what percent? So that means our unknown is going to be the percent over here. Now, which of these is A, which of these is B? Well, 75 is the whole, the total, which is going to be B. 15 is going to be the part. So in other words, what we're asking is, what part of 75 is 15 when expressed as a percent here? Well, if we plug this in, we'll have 15 divided by 75 is equal to some number, some percent, divided by 100. So let's now solve this proportion. We can simply multiply both sides by 100. Now all of this, you can probably figure out a clever way to calculate it. I'm just going to use my calculator. 100 times 15 divided by 75 is 20. 20. So 20 equals P. So in other words, 15 is 20% of 75. Does that sort of make sense? Alright, let's look at the next one. What is 25% of 144? Let's see, we have A over B equals P over 100. What is 25% of 144? Well, let's see. 25% obviously is the P, it's the percent. 144 is the total, because we're asking what part of 144 will give us 25%. I don't know if that's more confusing or not. I don't know. Let's just plug the numbers in and see what we get, see if the answer is reasonable. So A over 144 equals 25% over 100. So in order to solve this equation for our unknown, let's multiply both sides by 144. So A equals, okay, let's try to do this multiplication. 25 over 100 is the same thing as 1 over 4. Yeah, you can do it in your head, probably. 25 over 100 times 144, 36. Okay, so let's see if this answer makes sense. We are saying that 36 is 25% of 144. Does that statement seem to make sense? Well, yeah, it does. It does to me. Alright, and finally, 20% of what number is 80? In this case, we know what P is. It's 20%. We don't know what B is. We actually know what A is. 80 is the part. So now we're given the part, and the percentage, and we're asked what is the total. So let's plug these numbers in. A is 80, and we are dividing that by the unknown, the unknown total. And this is going to be equal to P, which is 20%. We're dividing that by 100. Now here, since the B is on the bottom of the equation, I'm just going to use cross multiplication because I'm going to have to do 2 steps anyway to solve this. So cross multiply. So 80 times 100 is 8,000 is equal to 20B. Finally, to solve this equation for B, we divide both sides by 20. So B equals 400. Now, let's see if this statement makes sense. We're saying that 20% of 400 is 80. Does that statement make sense? Well, yeah, sure, I hope it does. Okay, one last thing that I want to look at. Percent change. So percent change is the ratio of the amount of change to the original amount. The key, though, is this statement right here. It's the ratio of the amount of change to the original amount, not to the new amount. So a formula that might help you with this is the percent change equals the amount of the increase or decrease divided by the original amount. So let's just see a quick example of this in action. A store buys an electric guitar for $295. So this is the original amount. I'm just going to write that as an O. It's not a 0, believe me. Now, the store then marks up the price of the guitar to $340. So the new price is $340. What is the markup expressed as a percent change? Let's see. Percent change equals the amount of change divided by the original amount. Now the amount of change, well, let's see, how do we find that? Well, we ended up at 340, we started at 295, so we simply subtract those. 340 minus 295 is 45. So the price went up by $45. That is what goes in the top of our fraction, $45. Now what goes in the bottom of our fraction is the original amount, which was $295. It is not this number that goes in the bottom. That's not right. 45 divided by 295 is, let's see here, 45 divided by 295, it is equal to 0.15 approximately. Now, notice that this is not a percent, this is a decimal, which we can convert into a percent simply by moving the decimal place to the right twice, 1, 2. So we're doing the opposite of what we were doing before. So this is 15%. Now, as with all of these problems, you probably have a good intuitive feel for what percents look like and how they act. So ask yourself, does this make sense? Does it make sense that the price of the guitar went up by 15%? Well, yeah, it kind of looks like that might be the case. Okay, so that's all that I want to cover in this video. I hope that you're ready to do some problems to help review these concepts in class next time. Oh, and I'm going to return my face just because I'm still here, I promise. See, here I am. Okay, bye-bye.